Welcome to another episode of Beta Talk. I'd like to thank my sponsors, Ultimate Renewables Supplies. You can check them out on the website. They do all sorts of things. They do training, they're a merchant, and they're an umbrella company. And I am joined today by a friend of mine, Ben. Ben has actually been on the podcast before. And we chat, don't we, Ben, on WhatsApps and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And I really like what Ben does. Well, I say he's just got his MCS. That's probably a few months now, but we're going to chat about his first install, but also we're going to chat about something else to do with MCS. So MCS have just released a letter. I think it came out on the 15th of November. Is that right, Ben?
yeah, that's
And it's
correct.
gone to all engineers in MCS, and they've also notified manufacturers and trust. I don't know why they've notified Trustmark, but there you go. Uh, Trustmark get involved in everything. Um, and it's about a company that's trying to do things in a bit of a different way. They're not supposed to be doing it. And this company had contacted you, hadn't they, Ben? So I suppose, and MCS have sent this company a cease and desist, as far as I know,
Something like that, yeah.
something like that. So tell us the story. What happened?
So, as you mentioned, I'm recently registered as an MCS air source heat pump installer. And I think somebody somewhere needs to write a list of all the different stages that you go through in order to become MCS accredited. What I did not realize, and maybe I didn't do enough research, is that you also have to register with Ofgem to be able to access the bus grant. And the bus grant can't be accessed without that last final process, which I think you can only do after you're MCS accredited. So it's just like another thing to do, which no one tells you about. Um, I had done my first heat pump install. I had Nibe, they helped me, and I went through NAPIT. They're my CB, my what does CB mean? My
Certification body.
certification body. Thank you. Um, and I filled out all the paperwork on MCS on their mid website, and I went onto Ofgem, registered with Ofgem, finally filled up the bus paperwork, and I clicked send on a Friday afternoon. And 20 minutes after I sent that, I received an email, and it was an email from a company I've never heard of, based in the local area of where I am in London. And it was very strange. They said that they have 32 air source heat pump installations going ahead. That they were not currently MCS accredited installers, but they were trying to become MCS accredited. However, the process was taking such a long time, and they had so many installs going in that they needed to get they needed to get the installs registered with MCS, and then they get the bus grant because that was how they were getting their money. That's how they're getting paid. So they sent me an email. It wasn't personalized to me. It might have gone out to other people, but I was the one that clicked on it. And they say that they're gas safe registered, that they've been working for a period of time doing landlord gas safety certificates, boiler installations, boiler repairs, boiler maintenance, boiler services, and now they're getting involved in heat pump installations. And what they were going to do was purchase and supply the heat pump cylinder and all necessary components, carry out the full physical installation, handle the DNO application, performance estimates, heat loss calculations, electrical certifications, commissioning documents, EPC benchmark documents, and warranty registration. So they were doing all the physical side of the install and most of the paperwork. What did they want from me? They wanted me to become an umbrella. So an umbrella, as everyone who's ever listened to this podcast knows, is just a company that sits on top that sort of registers all the installs, but also they have some sort of connection between them and the customer. And that's where this is going to get all messy, because what they wanted me to do is to register the MCS cert, do the boiler upgrade scheme. I would have been paid £1,250 per installation, which would have been paid by the 7,500 bus grant, which would be paid into my company account. I would keep 1,250, and then they would get the rest. And they gave me a phone number to contact, and I called up that number, and lots of things quickly became apparent to me that it just didn't sound right. but 12.50 for just doing some paperwork is quite a nice thing to do, especially when normally I'm out,
Bit of a
installing
sweetener.
boilers or
Hmm.
yeah, sit in the office and do paperwork and get paid
Caught your
12.50 again, which
interest.
sounds nice. Yeah. So I contacted the phone number that was on there, and he straight away tries to get me to start registering installs, and he explains that I need to sign some paperwork. He calls it a framework. So okay, that sounds plausible. I want to see this paperwork, so he sends it to me. He also says that I would probably want to come to at least the first site visit, and I said no, I want to do a site visit on every install that I'm going to be registering. In my mind, it's exactly the same as going as a builder contacting me and saying, "Oh, can you please commission this boiler?" I understand from that they've got someone dodgy to install the boiler, he's not gas safe registered, and now they want me to take on that warranty or to that commissioning, which means my name's on the record. And if something's gone wrong, they've run a bit of plastic under the floor for the gas, and in 5 years' time it pops, then my name will be there as having registered the boiler. And I have this funny feeling that that's going to happen here. So I want to inspect the site before I sign off on it. So he says I can only come on commissioning day. Commissioning day is after they could have relayed the floor. There's no way for me to see if there's any insulation on the pipework under the floor, right? I'm not saying that you need to do that, but I would like to see what's going on. Um, so he says I can only come on the last day, and he would only like it if I came to the first job. And they've got 32 jobs that they've promised me. So so that seemed odd to me. I said, no, I'd rather come to every single site. And he says, no, normally the people that we worked with in the past, um, they're happy with pictures and videos of the site. But I thought if I were to do that, I if I just receive a photo, is it of that site where they've said, or is it a different site? And I'll never know. And in my mind, it was too easy for them to one day declare, they're going bust, and then I'm the one
What
who's
did they
who's
say?
registered them.
What did they
They
say
they
to your
want,
concerns?
pardon?
What did they say when you said, can I see every? So they said, oh, only on commissioning day, and you
Yeah,
raised the
so
concern
yeah,
that,
so in the end, they said I could come to every single property, but only on commissioning day.
hmm
They didn't want me to come in the middle of the job, and again, they gave a strange reason. They said they didn't want the customer to see too many engineers. I said, but I've done installs, right? I know that there's at least two, maybe three people at least on site, right? So one other person coming in to the property is not going to be such a surprise to the customer. He really didn't seem to want me to get too much access. In the contract, they said so. MCS says that me as the MCS installation company needs to have a contract with the customer. That I am the direct link. I have a direct link with that customer. They didn't want that. They wanted me to have them and me have a contract with the customer, because they then said that if that was the case, they would then take full responsibilities for any repairs that would need to be done in the future. If next year this property would be chosen to be inspected, and the MCS inspector came round and said, "Oh, this hasn't been done correctly," then he said in the contract he would be the one to have his engineers go and do the repair. And I said, but this contract is between you and me. And if you decide to disappear because you made all your money installing heat pumps, I'm left carrying the can. And I'm not sure I want to do that.
it's worth explaining to the listeners. So yeah, what's been breached here, and MCS, well done to them. I suppose they acted quite quickly. I think they've sent out this letter to all engineers to make them aware, be on the lookout of this kind of practice. So MCS 00-1 clause 4.101 is where you'll find all the information. I don't want anyone to think I've just remembered that. I wrote that down earlier. That was in
I
the
was
email.
super impressed with you, Nathan.
So basically, what it's around, and I get confused around all this stuff. I mean, you guys are MCS registered and sort of do it day in, day out. Well, a lot of the people I know do it day in, day out. But it's about if you are MCS, if you're the MCS who's going to be registering, and so all installs get registered on something called, I think you mentioned it earlier, MID,
Yeah,
which stands for MCS Installation
installation.
Database. Every install gets registered on that. So it's you that has to have the contract with the customer that's applied for the bus. And this is where this all gets into a bit of a dark grey area, isn't it? For some reason, for some reason they didn't want to go through a proper umbrella, and they could go to an umbrella and say, look, we've got a load of work. Can you be the umbrella scheme for us and do it all official? But for some reason, they didn't want to do it like that.
What was really funny at one point, the guy turned around to me and says, "Would you consider selling your company?" And I said, What would you buy exactly?" It's me and my van. They said no, because then if we buy your company, then we get access
That's
to
interesting.
MCS.
That's
Yeah,
because it's the company that's registered. It's not you
yeah,
individually.
yeah. Of course, yeah,
It used to be where so a company is registered, and a company has to have what's called a oh, clock, I've forgotten it. A nominated person, I think, is what it
yeah.
was for different technologies. So if you were doing solar PV, you'd have a nominated person for that who's done the course, who's done the BPEC course in that particular technology.
Right.
But that's interesting. Yeah. So if they purchased your company, they would be purchasing a registered company.
Yeah, but
Hmm.
it wasn't enough money. They only offered me £15,000. I was like, 15 grand? I'm going to pay you nothing. Can't even buy a new van for
Now,
that.
we're going back to this whole story. So this sort of happened as you registered your first ever install, did it?
Yeah, that's it's just such a strange
Now
occurrence
that's
because
obviously, yeah, that's sort of in my sort of brain at 53. That sort of seems a bit of a coincidence, doesn't it? I mean, no one would know. I mean, I know you well. I mean, I might know that
yeah,
you were going to register it on that day, but I wouldn't know exactly the time. And like 20 minutes later, wouldn't pick. So whether
no,
there's some sort of computer. I mean, mate, I'm getting too cynical now, aren't I? Conspiracy. But no, it
yeah.
does seem a coincidence. Um, and I suppose also, you were quite chuffed. I suppose it's a bit of a final thing. You register in your first ever install, and then of course you get this strange
Yeah.
anomaly occur. Um, I mean, but let's go back to the positive things. How did your install go? Were you happy with it? What sort of
Yeah,
install was it?
yeah, so I I went to Nibe at one of the installer shows. I think not the one, so we're not this year, it was last year back in 23. And yeah, so they have this training. You pay, I think, £900. That gets you onto all of their courses. It gives you money off from the heat pump that you install from them. They return some of the money to you. Um, the first heat pump you install has a 2-year warranty, but gets upgraded after you become MCS accredited, so a 5-year warranty. Um, yeah, so my local sales rep was really helpful. He helped me do the calculations. Um, he helped me put together my first orders because I didn't really know what I was ordering. Um, then we did the install. The install was interesting. Seems everything with me is interesting. So I had told the builders that I needed pre-insulated pipe work to go from under the cylinder location. The whole house was stripped back. So where the cylinder was going all the way to outside, I wanted it all pre-insulated. So they very cleverly took standard plastic pipework, 28 mil pipework, and put the grey insulation in and then buried it in cement. So I wouldn't see it. Yeah, but I could see it. It was very visible. And when I got inspected, because yeah, I tried to fix it, and it wasn't. It was very visible that it was still there. So I was made to pull up all the concrete again, dig down, remove all that pipework, replace it with pre-insulated pipework, and then Nibe have a partnership with NAPIT. So NAPIT were the ones who came out and inspected. I was first inspected by the Nibe. They have a technical guy that comes round and he checks everything and he okays it. He made me realize that the diverter valve was the wrong way around and it was pointing in the wrong direction because I'm so used to A meaning on a three-port valve. A normally means radiators, and B normally means hot water.
B for
B for
bathrooms.
bath, A for
Yeah.
air. Right, that's how
That's
I've
how
always learned it.
students
And now,
sometimes.
now heat pumps, they decided to reverse it. Why not? Just confuse everyone. So I had to switch that out. And there were a couple of things that, he wanted an air vent here, which I didn't add an air vent at that point. So I did all the repairs, and NAPIT came out, and they took a very, very long time to do anything, but they finally came through, and I was MCS accredited. My customer was waiting for the building certification that I could suddenly do by registering the heat pump on the NAPIT website. So I registered on the NAPIT website, got the building certs that he needed. I registered it with MCS on the MID, and then I realized I needed to get the bus grant, so I had to register for the bus and with Ofgem. So Ofgem is really interesting because none of this seems to be something that I can just, if I apply for, I don't know, a Facebook account, I never used to, when I first signed up, I never really had to prove who I was. I just signed up, right? Um, if I want to get a new SIM card for my phone, I don't, I need to give my card details. I might need to give a bit more information, but I can do it all online. For the bus grant, I need to go to Ofgem. I need to download a form. I need to fill out the form. I need to send it off to them. It takes them several days, maybe a couple of weeks, and then finally they give me access to the portal. And it just seems like a really long way to do something which I think could be much simpler. That surely there's a way to do checks without having to wait
What
2 weeks.
identity checks, you mean?
Yeah, I've just become MCS accredited. That here's the certificate. What else
Well,
do you need to let me do get onto the Ofgem bus grant?
um,
It's just
I mean,
funny.
well, the first thing I want to say is it sounds like there's a lot of paperwork involved, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I mean, when it comes to identity checks, I mean, I suppose differences. You know, I'm going on my first ever holiday in 10 years,
Where are you off
and
to?
I'm going. I used to live in New York 30 years ago for a couple of years, and I'm going to take my 11-year-old daughter there for Christmas. So I've got friends, and
Nice.
we'll stay there. And
Fantastic.
obviously, booking the tickets is a lot different to booking tickets. It's extremely strange now. And of course, you have to scan. I had to scan my passport into the camera on the computer, and it's picked up all the details and probably knows I am who I say I am. But my point is, I mean that's by probably about them how they sort of because obviously it's public money, so no, I can. But you've had to register with NAPIT. You had to register the actual install on the MID, which for the people that are listening is MCS installation database, and then obviously now, I mean, it's your first doing install, and obviously you've transitioned from doing plumbing jobs and boiler jobs. Uh,
So I still do because
yeah,
I'm
which you
not
still
getting
do now.
enough heat
Now I
pumps.
know you well, but mate, I mean, you've done. Firstly, congratulations. You've done really, really
Thank
well,
you.
and it's because your heart was in right. You know, you for a good few years now, you've really been interested in this.
Yeah,
You've become a lifelong learner. I know for a fact that every Friday afternoon you devote that to learning and studying this
yeah.
industry and getting hold of
Less
anything.
so in the winter, but
Hmm.
now that we're getting to super busy times,
But would
but
you would you say it's been a hard transition or an easy transition? I mean, you've obviously learned some things. Nibi, obviously, as we know, are one of my favourite companies. So they got this scheme. They've come out and they've helped
yeah,
you, handheld you. Obviously, then nap it, however the people.
yeah.
I mean, I don't like to be unfair to people, and this is not personal to anyone. But I mean, I think there's 11 CBs now involved in the MCS
Okay, right.
and it's quite competitive. I'm I seem to be the conduit for lots of people complaining. I mean, for instance, I'm not MCS registered, but I've had so many people send me this email. Because MCS have obviously sent the email out to all their registered installation companies saying this is what has been happening. Well, I got loads of people ping me that email, forward it to me,
Right.
and I'm having lots of complaints about NAPIT. Lots of complaints. I mean, some of them
No,
just make you
no
think,
comment.
what is going on? No, you'd have to comment, and you've just started, so good on you.
Yeah,
Um, and long may the relationship with Napier be fruitful, and they help you and hold you because you're just new to this. What we don't want
yeah.
is people to be put off. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, has anything put you off and think, oh, sod this, I'm going to go back to boilers?
Um, no, because I think I might be slightly mad and happy to push myself through this.
Good. Yeah, well
I
done.
think Okay, so in the middle of lockdown, I think that's when you started your podcast. Is that possible?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Around then.
yeah, yeah.
And you and I wasn't planning on getting into heat pumps then. I was just listening to another thing whilst I'm driving around town. And you were talking about heat pumps and you were pushing out information which I'd not heard before. So I did my training. I did my first the 3 day training. I did that in the middle of lockdown up in the Peak District. Absolutely the most perfect place you can go for training. Boring PowerPoints by day and gorgeous walks in the afternoon. Yeah, so about 4 years, I think I've been going through this. It's been really, really slow because a lot of this is about paying out lots of money. So the 3 day training, there was actually funding which I got access to that the government threw out. So I managed to get access to that. Um, um, you need to become. So I went through NEBI. They wanted £900. You've got to become. Oh, what they call a REC? REC is a what company is REC? It's
Yeah, it's a
a
consumer protection code.
consumer protection. You have to join.
It's going to
You
become
may.
voluntary next year, I think. But yes, you have to join a consumer protection
I
code.
want to. I don't understand the changes that MCS are going to be making. In the end, bought Easy MCS, which is a QMS that helps me, a quality management system that allows me to fill in very easily the paperwork that I need to fill in. Um, how are they expecting people, newbies like myself, to be able to fill in the paperwork correctly without having this type of QMS available? So if a QMS is voluntary, which I think they said as well, I don't understand how I would be doing the job without the QMS. It's going to be voluntary, and I'm going to be volunteering for it because I need it. Um, I just, yeah. So there's been lots of costs, and not everyone knows the answers. So you're calling around to different engineers. There's one guy, Chris Radwell, when I was doing my NEBA installation, and I couldn't get the wiring done correctly, and the tech line had shut down for the night. He has everything NEBA in his head. And I never met the guy before. I was introduced by somebody else, another engineer, and I called him up, and he was really helpful over the phone. So
Oh,
that's a
good.
really really nice guy, also based in London,
Good shout out for him.
who's not MCS accredited, but he's installed a lot of knee-based stuff. Um, yeah, so there was a lot of costs. I think I did the Heat Geek course. There was a cost in that. I've done the Kimber Bessie course. I've done silly things like water regs, which I don't really understand why they make us do it. I know why I need the ticket, right? Please don't. I know you used to do the water regs course. Used to train people on it, so please don't ask me any questions.
It's a requirement now, isn't
Yeah,
it? If you're doing your
yeah.
3 day heat pump course, that you have your
You also
G3
need to do your G3,
and your water.
which makes sense. And also, although I don't know why they're pushing G3 because you don't have to use an unvented cylinder with a heat pump. I'm sure you could be using a non-vented, a gravity
G3
fed.
G3 covers it all.
Yeah,
Yeah, G3 is not just for. That's one of the misconceptions of G3 that
true.
everyone thinks it's about. Going back to the 3 day
Yeah,
course, my last
4 years
episode
ago. Yeah.
my last episodes have been quite critical about these. And for my audience, I've had the Heat Pump Association ringing me up, and I've had a meeting with sort of the DESNES people that are sort of in. But I'm standing my guns. There's no efficacy studies that study the impact of learning. Now, what was your course like? Be honest. I mean, if it was good, it was good. Tell me, what did you feel it was good? What did you get? I mean, I'm sure you got value from it because you went there as what I would class as someone passionate about learning. You didn't think, oh, this is just a free course, I'm going to go on it. You went there with a bit of an investment. You wanted to probably go in this direction, but was the course good? Did it meet up to did it meet
Um,
your
so first of
expectation?
all, yes, it was cheaper, but it wasn't free, and it was 3 days off work. Which if you're a one-man band, then that is a really, really tough ask. So I'm glad that's behind me. Um, the course, no, I think I reported back to you that basically it was a death by PowerPoint, um, which was really strange because the guy giving it claimed to have installed heat pumps over the past 20 years, and he had a company which installed heat pumps. So I assumed he knew everything that he was talking about, but he had been obviously told he cannot deviate from the PowerPoint. So he just read out the power. I hate, I go to my kids' schools and they put up a PowerPoint and the teachers just reads off what it says on the PowerPoint to me, the parents. And I'm thinking, can't you just like add a little something extra to make it a bit more interesting? I can read what's on the screen. I I don't need you to read it out to me. And everyone uses PowerPoint. They don't use PowerPoint to, I don't know. I think a better way would be to have it as a bit of reading matter whilst the person speaks to you about and gives you a bit more detail. Anyway, that's not what he did. He just read it straight off. And then I think I've got on my bookcase over here, it's like a 300 page printout of all the PowerPoints, extra small. Yeah, which I'm never looking at
And is
again.
that your reference? But was this LCL
No,
Awards
I'm
or was
not.
it
I'm not.
BPEC? Was it
It
which one?
was, it was, I think it was LCL.
LCL Awards. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have to do your local?
BPEC I got through HeatGeek, the HeatGeek course. That gave me a BPEC
That's not a
qualification.
BPEC qualification. It's just been BPEC recognised. They're different
Oh, right.
things.
So I don't have a BPEC qualification then. Thanks for letting me know.
You got the Heat Geek qualification, but BPEC,
Yeah,
if I wanted to do some webinar
that's just
series
the
and BPEC would, you can ask BPEC to sort of what's the word, affiliate it, but it's not a UCAS or off-qual qualification. I mean, you don't have to go back that many years when I think there was BPEC and LCL awards are sort of kind of in competition with each other because they sort of have the monopoly on these heat pump um, recognized awards that MCS will recognize. And at the time, one of them was an off qual, if I remember. It didn't have to be, but yeah, it's all a bit. Anyway, it's all a bit of a matchness. Yes, the delivery is the problem. And yours was so 500 is the voucher scheme, which all us taxpayers are paying for.
yeah.
Everyone's mid I always get the name wrong. It's the net zero hub at Midlands net zero hub, clapping their hands, saying it's successful. I noticed today
Yeah,
on
yeah. And you
on
mentioned the
LinkedIn, I connected with the person at DESIST he's in charge of this, and he's saying it's really, really successful. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's successful because the
yeah.
numbers have been on it. That's a
I
massive difference.
yeah, but okay. So I questioned you. I sent you on the WhatsApp earlier my
You did.
questions. Yeah, I didn't use a voice note because it would have been about 10 minutes long. And I questioned that and I said, does anyone ever track any form of training within the UK? My oldest he
Yeah,
starts
you're
on
right.
GCSEs this year, right? And that will be used to tell him what A levels he can do. That will tell him what course he can do in university that he's hoping to do. Who's tracking that? When he leaves university one day and he goes to into the workforce, who tracks how much whatever success is, what's a
Well,
good
you're right. You're right because a lot of education in the country is funded, but there are efficacy studies going. So the universities all over the world are doing studies on what has impact on learning. So there's a guy called, I mean, I don't know if he's sort of still venerated as much as he was. I mean, I'm sort of out of teaching now, but there was a guy called John Hattie in Australia who every year or every 2 years would publish sort of the top 10 things that had the highest impact on learning. And usually at the top was something they called CTE, collective teacher efficacy, which is actually very simple. It's where teachers, so let's say when I was teaching in a vocational situation, where we all got together each week and said, yeah, what worked for the students, because you're building up best practice, and that that things like that had a high impact on learning. So there are studies going on all the time around it. Now, when it comes to vocational education, there have been studies, but we're talking about something that we are funding. So we are giving training centres every time someone walks through that door, a training centre's getting £500. Now I know a training centre that rubbed their hands thinking, oh, we better get some of our gas assessors on that heat pump course so that
yeah
they can start teaching that heat pump course.
Yeah, but
and
that's
then we will
because
register because you have to get them
yeah.
registered to get the voucher scheme. And he said, I'll be buying my brand new Porsche from this.
So what?
Well, no,
That's how the system works.
no, I don't.
Honestly, no, no,
I don't care about. I don't
I
care
get
about other
that. Okay,
systems.
I get that's tax man's money, right? It's like your and my money, right? It's our money. Um, that's number one. Number two, um, they're a business, right? They did not open up a training center in order to out of the goodness of their heart. It's nearly Christmas. Let's open up a training center to help gasmen and women all around the country. That's not what they're doing, right? They're there to make money and buy Porsches. Just like I have opened up my plumbing and heating company to get loads of stress from my customers, come home late, and need a new van. That's what I'm in business for. That was a joke. Um, uh, um, I, I don't, I do hear what you're saying. I don't believe that I'm calling it government. I don't know who would check that somebody who goes to do heat pump training becomes an MCS accredited installer. Um, didn't somebody on one of your previous podcasts say that um, um, people get to the end of their first year as being MCS and then quit. So they've
Yeah,
they
there's
so
one
they've
of the
done all of that unbelievable hard work that I've just finished.
yeah
So in 12 months' time, am I just going to turn around and say I'm not interested anymore?
yeah
I
there's
just find that
concern.
really hard.
There's concern. So people like yourself, they join the scheme, and then after about a year and a half, they think, "Crikey, this isn't for me." Now, going back to your point about efficacy study, I mean, they ain't got to study everyone. If you are having lots and lots of people going on these courses, which we are funding, it makes sense. And it doesn't just make sense. I know you've got a point about the whole of education, but like I said in my speech at the ground source heat pump stations, I don't care about Sitting Gill's cake making. I don't care about Sitting Gill's dog grooming or car mechanics or the other 200 courses they are certifying because they do certify about 200 different things. Sitting Gills, 2 million people join up to Sitting Gills every year in this world.
Because they're not tax
What I
funded. Is
care
that why?
about is this industry because as
Is it
every listener
because
will
it's
know,
tax funded or just because
no, I don't care about it because
you
it's not
care about it?
it's nothing to
That's
do with
what
me.
you care about, right?
What I care about is our industry has become one of the most important industries on the planet. So do you agree with that? If we got to decarbonize heating,
Mm.
has cake making become an important industry? No. So we are now in a very important industry that's the whole world is scrutinizing. We've got a big training problem. We've got a big skills gap problem. We know we need to solve it. It does not make sense following the same paradigm we followed year after year after year after year. We need people to
Do
actually
you
look and
think
think. We need
that
people to look at it
50
and
or
think,
60 years ago, when a lot of older engineers think that we were in a better place 50 or 60 years ago because we had a design side and we had an installation side, and again, you've spoken about this many times, and there was no one following the money then. There was free education for everything. There was, it just fell into place. It's over 100 years. This is
well,
how it worked out in the end.
it was a much different industry, Ben. Much different. So, but you go back 60
Because
years, everyone was employed. So you had the 12 regional British gas boards and you had councils. Everyone was employed by them. So if a new process comes around or a new method of doing something or a new product, that information gets disseminated very, very quickly, which is why the transition to natural gas from manufactured gas down to gas happened very quickly because you could disseminate information very, very quickly if anyone's employed. So let's say you and I are journeymen or we're fully qualified plumbers or we're even apprentices. Our foreman would be telling us what's got to be done. All around the country that was happening. We are now in a very heterogeneous industry where 86% thereabouts are sole traders. So if there's a new process or a new way of doing things or a new product, how do they get to know about it? They aren't all at the end of the phone waiting for someone to tell them at the night, or they're not all on social media and they're not all reading trade media. They're just bumbling along doing their own work. And a lot of the time they think what they're doing is good practice. I'll speak to someone today on LinkedIn who's involved in eco who think they're doing a good job, but clearly they're doing stuff that was outdated 20 years ago. They don't know
Mm.
that. Um, and so information filtered down very quickly. That doesn't happen now. We're in a different industry. Our countries are very, very. We've got a lot of self-employed people compared to other European countries. So if you want to train people, You've got to really look at the paradigm of training. Is it working? Hasn't it worked? Because if we have got a big skills gap, which we have, it doesn't take a
Mhm.
rocket science to work that out. The government need to think, right, how do these, I bet you I could go to anyone in the Heat Pump Association and anyone in DESNES and anyone at Net Zero Hub, Midlands Net Zero Hub, and say, have you actually been on that course for 3 days? Just seen what it's like, see how it goes on. Now they do ask people, as I said on my last one, would you recommend it? Well, of course, people are going to recommend it. It was free. Now it's not totally free for everyone. You pay what you would have paid something.
Yeah,
Some people are paying 100, some people are paying 150, and then the £500 goes straight to the training centre.
yeah.
Someone like Ideal, some of the manufacturers do offer it completely free. Now they're having a problem because I've spoken to some of the manufacturers because when you offer a course completely free,
So
you'll
Ideal
get
charge you a tenner now. So I'm
you
going on an Ideal course tomorrow,
well, I
and
know why they do because what
because
happens
they,
is when
yeah, you
you don't have
invested.
people turn up.
Yeah,
If something's completely free and they book out like the eight, let's say they're training eight and they don't want more than eight, they book in their 8 people, and then on the day, 3 people turn up because no one's invested any money. If you invest, let's say you put 50 quid on £100, you generally are going to turn up to something.
yeah.
So they were having a problem. They were charging it completely free, and that now they're obviously going to be charging. I mean, £10 might not even be enough. But the point is, with an efficacy study, is you take a sample of people
Yeah.
3 weeks after they've done the course, 6 weeks after the course, whatever. You could do a few trials, and you find out what their knowledge comprehension actually is. Because if we are to have this massive workforce, and I don't know if you saw that big report that's come out from HPA, it was actually GemServe that wrote it. And
Right.
I'm going to
What do
be
you mean?
honest, I think I think it's rubbish. It basically says what we already know. We need a bloody lot of engineers to put this stuff in. I don't need to look at loads and loads of tables trying to model and project exactly how many it will be each year. We know we need a lot. What we need to be doing is finding ways of being able to train them. So we've got a lot of engineers to be able to do this. And
Can I
Jem's,
ask? Can I
yeah,
ask? Boris, there's only one Boris, right? Boris announced 600,000 heat pumps when he was PM, right?
yeah,
Is our current government still following that path, or have they changed something which hasn't
still the
become
trajectory they're
comprehensive?
following. Yeah, I mean, I had Daniel on who came up with that figure. He's been on the podcast.
Okay,
He was working at days when they come up with it.
because I was waiting for some big news when the budget was announced, and I didn't really hear anything that would impact my level of installation, right? So there wasn't more money put into heat pumps. I think the bus grant was extended very slightly. But they spoke about all the like really big projects like wind farms and the British Energy and big things. But there wasn't anything for the 600,000 target or to get more engineers trained or more funding to go towards companies or more funding to go towards heat
Well, the
pumps.
target that
Nothing
target's
was,
there. That target's there, and obviously this big report that's come out from the HPA, which basically says we need lots more engineers. Yeah, we know that. They paid GemServe a lot of money to write it. I've been very critical of GemServe over the last 3 weeks. They've
yeah.
ignored me because they
Mhm.
wrote another report for the Liquid Gas UK, which is all about renewable LPG. There's a place for that. But in that report, they're trying to say, or they're trying to suggest, this is what I believe, and I did ask for confirmation, but they're ignoring it or ignoring me, that heat pumps won't work in hard to treat homes or what they call hard to decarbonize homes. And they're suggesting that renewable LPG is the answer. And they missed out a complete technology, air to air. Ironically, when they delivered that report in Westminster in a marquee, which you could say is quite
Right.
hard to treat,
Yeah.
there's an air to air heat pump above
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
head. And in the report they've just released for the Heat Pump Association, they do mention air to air. Now, they wrote a report for the Heat Pump Association a few years ago where they were condemning oil boilers in rural homes. And they made this big thing about oil boilers having pilot lights. So I contacted him. I said, look, I'm not being funny. My granddad developed the burners for this country. The two top boiler
Yeah.
manufacturers in this country at the time in the 70s were Cecil's company, which is Worcester, and Triangle Red Fire. And my granddad developed them burners. And I said, there is no pilot light. And he was a really, really nice gentleman, this guy from GemServe. He contacted me and we chatted and I explained the technology. I can't remember if they abridged it or what they did, but it seems these you got consultancy companies. I mean, they write for the hydrogen people as
Yeah.
well, Jem. So it seems we've got these consultancy and they get paid money from us as well. So they're managing GemServe are managing the heat networks fund,
That's the business to be in,
which is
you know.
millions, hundreds and
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds of millions going out to all these people that want to access it, and they're getting
Mm.
paid a few million to manage it.
Yeah.
And my argument is, well, A, don't ignore people. If they've asked you a question online, have the politeness to get back to them. Because if I pointed out an issue, I've pointed out an issue. We aren't going to get to, we're not going to accelerate a transition if we're all sitting in our silos and and keeping quiet and making all the money because there's a lot of
Yeah.
money being made. You engineers aren't making it.
Yeah.
I mean, I get
Wouldn't
I
mind a
get
couple of
feedback.
million helping
I
me out.
I mean, the thing is, I don't just get feedback off of engineers. I get feedback from people saying, Nathan, please press that point. Please press that point. From people in very high up positions who,
Um,
who are in all this other discourse because they're seeing it as well. I mean, the funding that is around, Ben, is astronomical. And you've got people now accessing that fund, but they get a little bit peeved off that within their consortium is someone else that always seems to be in everyone's consortium making money. I'm not going to mention their name because that would annoy them as well. But it's getting a bit strange. It really is getting a bit strange.
I like the fact that you've used this very public forum that you've got to put down a couple of government organizations and also called out Ed Miliband that he's not been on the 3-day course. So Ed Miliband, if you're hearing,
well, no, I mean, Ed,
if you're listening, Nathan has challenged you
no, I've not.
to
No,
go on
Ed
the
doesn't need to go.
3-day course
Not
for
Ed.
heat
He's
pumps.
far too busy, and he's got a heat pump. So that's
Yeah,
another.
but
That's
having a heat
another.
pump installed is not the same as, having the knowledge. I think he should do the Heat Geek course,
He
and he
doesn't need
should,
to do anything like that. The
yeah,
people in
to
charge of that
truly
scheme.
understand.
There's people in charge of that scheme that should go on it
Yeah.
without a doubt. And if people are extolling its virtues and venerating it as a success, they should go on it. And then I'll
Mm.
test them and I'll take them out. Let's see if they can put a heat pump in or feel competent to do anything. Because I know they
Yeah.
wouldn't. So why are they expecting gas engineers who haven't been trained in the science of heat to feel confident? You're actually
Mm.
setting them up to fail. I mean, your journey has took 4 years since you did that course.
Yeah.
That's quite a long time, Ben, isn't it?
Yeah.
4 years from now is over the
Yeah.
2028 year. That's quite a long
Yeah.
time, don't you think? It's that no one's helped you on that journey either, have they? Have any of our
No.
trade bodies helped you? Have any of them said to
No.
Ben, "Oh, Ben, you did that course. Is there anything we can do to help you, give you extra advice, set you up with some mentors that you can talk to?" Have they done anything like that?
No, I had to. I do
Uh,
have some mentors,
and
but
sod
I've
all.
had to find everyone.
Have our government paid out millions and millions and millions and millions to all consultancies that want to
No.
talk about our industry and talk about how many heat pumps? Yeah, they have quite a lot. That's our money as
Mm.
well.
Mm.
Innovate UK is chucking out loads of money because I'm having people who've got some of Innovate UK's money moaning
Mm.
about the other people that have got it. Right now, you haven't had anything. You are a very passionate person that wants to do this, which is what we need. We aren't going to get to decarbonise heat unless we've got people like you.
I'm going to change my business plan, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get you to explain how I can get millions of pounds. I'm not going to install any more heat pumps. I'm just going to advise other people how to install heat pumps, and then we'll
Yeah,
do a
just talking.
report. I'm going to do a report. Yeah, report on something.
Write some reports. Learn how to
Yeah,
do fancy infographics. You'll get a
sounds
lot.
fantastic.
Ben, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah,
You keep up the real good hard work you do. Credit to the
thank you very
industry.
much.
Need any help, you obviously know you can ring me. You've
Yeah,
got a few other people around you, I think, that will obviously give you support as well. Neebia have been giving you support.
yeah.
So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, evening, whatever. Cheers.